Hey, you ever been to Chancellor Park? That's where I live. My name is Tavin Dillard. I live in Chancellor Park. I mow lawns, mowing, edging, grass cutting legend. I sure am glad to join me here on this podcast. I want to let you know what's going on in my neck of the woods. Now, I started out years ago on the YouTubes and then the TikToks and the Instagrams now and the whatnots. I got the websites, the tavindillard.com, but right now, I want to clue you into what's happening in my neck of the woods on the Tavin Dillard podcast. You here? I'm here. I'm glad you joined me. Now I'm going to send it over to myself. This is like the pre-introduction, but let's get on to the real show today. Hey y'all guys, you ever had any fried bologna? You ever been hunting? What if today's episode was about both of them things? I don't know. Actually, I do know, y'all guys. Thanks so much for joining me. You already know who I am. I mean, you mashed the button on the podcast channel or however it worked. You know, this is like a radio show. It's for your ears. And me, well, I am Tavin Dillard. I went ahead and introduced myself, even though I said you already know. You know, I just couldn't help myself but say my name again, I guess. I don't know why. I guess because I don't want people to be confused. Buddy, I'll get confused sometimes. I mean, that time Kevin Rickard changed the old snack aisle at the grocery store, I don't think there's any sense in doing something like that. If you got folks in the area that come there all the time, they on a schedule, they know what they got to get, they're going to get in, get out there, get what they need, and all of a sudden now there's motor oil and there's like car windshield wipes and all that kind of things on the aisle where you was looking for Funyuns and hot fries and double stuffed Oreos kind of thing. So I don't want you to be confused and you turn on to the aisle of the podcast world today and it's like, whose podcast is this again? Well, now you know twice. I'm Tavin Dillard. Well, that's 3 times. Come on, I got to knock it off. I hope you've been having a good week. We, in the middle of October, if you listen to this on the day it comes out, today's a Tuesdays, because every Tuesdays is new episodes here on the Tavin Dillard podcast. Thank y'all for, on the Spotify, folks have been leaving comments on what they think of the episodes. I appreciate y'all doing that. A lot of times I take, what happens is them comments on Spotify or the Apple podcast get turned into the stories on the Instagram. The folks show folks, what other folks are thinking about at the podcast. So I appreciate y'all leaving all that for me. And I'm getting text messages and emails, about the podcast too. So thank y'all. Good to hear from you every week. Somebody messaged me this week just thanking me for it. I think her name was Amy. I'm going to say Amy Patterson. I ain't got the name in front of me, but let me, if that's you, Amy, thanks. And if it wasn't you, sorry, Lorraine, or whatever your name really was. But I appreciate you just telling me you found the podcast and you listened to it and you enjoying it. I'm glad to hear it. I am so glad to hear it. Somebody else, I had a Bank mug giveaway, a week or so ago. I did a Donuts hat giveaway not too long ago, autographed Donuts hat. I'll probably do another giveaway soon. I ain't decided on what it might be. I do have the new Tavin's maple syrup from Trees. Maybe I give away some maple syrup. I don't know. Just keep an eye out. I'll be promoting it when I do it, but I ain't got a giveaway at this very moment. But I was thinking, I appreciate y'all, reaching out on them different things, like on the electronic mail, which is the email, and then the text messages above me, and then the comments, on them other things, so that I know, just what folks is thinking about stuff. Somebody else asked me this week, hey, you ain't got, I want to buy one of the mugs you're giving away that ain't for sale. No, they ain't for sale. It's not like you can't find them, like they ain't available. And that's basically, there's a couple reasons. There's more mugs to sell, but I think one of the main reasons is I got to figure out how to get them packed better, because too many got melt out last year and around Christmas times, and then they showed up broke, like they got broke in the mail. And I was like, well, apparently I don't know how to pack a mug, so I had to figure out the learning curve on that. So it just took a break from selling them. But maybe they'll come back, as we head into the falls and the winters. Got some fun stuff coming up in the winters. And some new merchandise coming out. If you like to wear things on your head or on your torso, that may interest you. I'm really trying to market to a lot of folks with heads and torsos, I guess, as they say. But anyhow, no, it should be good. I'm looking forward to one. I'm going to get it. I'll probably wear it and then talk about it, but it'll keep you warm. I'll tell you that much. So this is season 8, episode 4s. I mean, we already 4 episodes into this new season, and I feel like we still riding the high horse of the adult softball league championship season. I mean, the baseball season in the major leagues is still going on, but unless you a fan of one of the 3 or 4 teams that's left, and then it's over for you. You're like, well, it's football season now, kind of thing. But anyhow, you can check the show notes for all them things I'm talking about. Like I say, oh, folks is emailing me, and you might be like, how they emailing you? Well, the email address is in the show notes today, and folks is texting me, and you will see my phone number that you can text me at in the show notes today. Tabbins maple syrup from trees in the show notes today. You can click a link on that, and then it's a link to the merch where you can find the shirts and the hats and the hoodies. There's one link for that. So that's what we got going on, and it's been good. It's been busy time. So you can do all that stuff and stay in touch. And I did have a crazy dream this past week, and this wasn't what I want. This doesn't have to do with Bologna or Huntin, which I'm about to get to in a little bit, but it do have to do with chocolate gravy. Now, some folks I told about my dream, and I ain't mad at chocolate gravy, but I can't have it that late. I had a crazy dream, and some folks is like, what's chocolate gravy? Well, chocolate gravy is a beautiful thing. I mean, if you got a breakfast and you're looking at your breakfast and you say that's about a 5, hey, you just slide chocolate gravy on the table, it's up to a 10. I don't even care if you're having cereal, y'all guys. Chocolate gravy make everything better for the breakfast, and if you have breakfast for supper like I do, it make everything better for the suppers. But anyhow, I had it too late, and I mean, there's a video on Instagram if you want to see the whole thing, but and folks is on my I got a Chancellor Park newsletter going out. I don't know how often right now because I just started it, but I've sent out a couple already on the emails of just little stuff that's going on this week, and lo and behold, I ate chocolate gravy too late, and I had a dream about a possum with a peg leg. It turned out the peg leg was fake, and he's trying to get shortbread cookies from folks out in front of Rickard's grocery store. But he got busted, and about the time a catfish on a dirt bike rolled up, and they went out to the lake to have more hijinks. But I'm telling you, Kevin Rickard, in my dream, buddy, he shut it down. That peg leg possum didn't get one shortbread cookie. But you can hear the whole thing. You can hear the whole dream and how it kind of went down on wherever you listen to my videos. If you watch them on the Instagrams or the YouTubes, Facebooks, TikToks, all that. But anyhow, we halfway through October's. And last week's was a baby doll parade. Well, my Meemaw had. It's about as bad as idea as it sounds, y'all guys. I hope Meemaw got that out of her system, but there ain't no guarantees on something like that. She may think, well, now it's time for a Christmas cantata with the baby dolls, and Babs Gristle's gonna work the handbells, and Rachel Christine's gonna fly in like a little angel on a zip line. I don't know. I probably shouldn't even said that out loud since Meemaw can hear me from 3 trailers over if it's something she want to hear. But anyhow, Cricket, my gal Cricket, she work at the nursing home. She live in the next county over, and she own a property with her folks and her granddaddy and granny. They don't live too far, and she asked me to go hunting with her granddaddy. Now you think, well, that's a beautiful thing. Well, if you saying that, there's a couple things. You may have never heard about any of my other trips with Cricket's granddaddy, because ain't none of them been, I wouldn't categorize, if I was putting categories, I wouldn't categorize none as a beautiful thing. There's the fishing tournament when we was fishing partners. You can listen to that. I think that's probably, let's say, season 3 or 4 of the podcast, but there's a fishing tournament, and I'm linked up with Cricket's granddaddy. There's been a lot. And I don't really want to rehearse it all in my head right now, but she asked me to go, hunting with him. And I ain't mentioned the 93 Ford Ranger lately I've been saving up for. Well, the money is almost there, which is the good news. Now I just got to find a 93 Ford Ranger. So, I let folks know, hey, in town, hey, I'm keep out for this if you see it, because, this is what I'm looking to buy. Then I'll be able to tote my lawnmower into town. I ain't got to ride it on my bike. I still got that ATV from last year's that I'm able to get around on, but, sometimes the bike just easier. because my bike don't never run out of gas. Folks, tell me they think they know somebody with a vehicle. I need to check it out, that kind of thing. So you kind of do what you say is your due diligence, where you look around and you're like, okay, somebody said you got a truck. Is that true? And what about it? And how much? And you kidding me? Kind of thing. So Chet Dilroy, you know him. His granddaughter, Candy Dilroy, live in Chancellor Park, and she can catch an adult crow. She can catch a feral cat and put a top hat on it. I've seen her do some wild things with wild animals. And anyhow, her granddaddy's Chet, they live outside town a little bit. His wife, Gracie, she run Early Bird Gets the Perm with her sister, Delandra. That's Chet's sister-in-law. Well, anyways, Chet's seen a truck for sale. And, he teaches them junior archers out there at the softball fields. The baseball, they just the fields in town. There's 3 of them out there in the middle of town. And outside on the other side of the outfield fence, I got them hay bales, and he trained them out there. But that ain't don't matter know-how today. I'm just telling you, he's seen a truck for sale, and it did not work. And I don't mean I didn't like the color. It just didn't work out for me. This ain't gonna happen. No, I mean the truck did not work. There's basically, like, I got out there and I look at this thing, there's like half an engine under the hood. I don't know how that worked. Chet was saying it, it's a good price though, Tabby. It's a good price. Is it though, for a truck that don't work? I mean, if the truck works, then yeah, good price. I can drive it away, and I got what I paid for. But if it ain't working, you asking me to fix a motor vehicle? Buddy, that ain't gonna happen very easily. I'd need a lot of coaching, a lot of help, and I'd end up spending a lot of money on that anyhow. So that's how it is. So I don't think so. So I'm still on the hunt for a truck. That's the bottom line when it comes to that. So if I get asked to go somewhere, like long ways away, somebody gonna have to have a vehicle. So speaking of hunt, Cricket had me out to her grandparents this past week, and her granddaddy mentioned how he used to go hunting all the time, and he loves it. Oh, he was saying, boy, just to be out there in them early mornings, with just me and my thoughts and my gun and them wild animals kind of thing. I was like, yeah, it sounded like a real good time, Well, I was sitting at the table, at their house while he's telling me this story about hunting, and I'm enjoying a fried bologna sandwich that Cricket's granny made on white bread. I like mayonnaise on mine. I know the mustard folks hate to hear it, but that's how I like it. Just more mustard for you. It's okay. And Cricket says to me, Tavin, y'all should go hunting. Well, now I'm in the middle. I'm like mid-bite on one of the best fried bologna sandwiches I ever had. And she looking at me just like, Tavin, y'all should go. So, I don't know if she means y'all really should go, or we should just keep talking about hunting, and that'd be a fun idea sometime, but not really ever gonna happen. So I'm just kind of sitting there mid-blank or mid-bite, just kind of bank. I'm looking at Cricket, she looking at me. I'm thinking, well, maybe she's gonna talk about something else now. Like, boy, ain't that weather been crazy? I guess that cold weather's about to blow in, whatever the next thing is when you have a conversation. But she wasn't. She's just staring at me like bank, and I was staring at her like bank, and I couldn't look away because I felt like I was guilty of something, but I wasn't. But I couldn't ignore her. I tried it, but it ain't a big kitchen. And I'm sitting there, and Cricket's granddaddy's sitting there, and Cricket's standing there with a cup of coffee while her granny's at the stove. So what am I supposed to do? I kind of look at the ceiling, and then I look back at the bologna sandwich. I broke the bank stare off, and then I think, well, maybe that's all I needed to do, and case closed. And then I just hear, Tavin. I look over at Cricket, kind of like, well, yeah, what's up? What's going on, Cricket? You and my granddaddy should go hunting. So now she said it twice. Now you know it wasn't just one of those things. Oh, yeah, you should take skydiving lessons one day. And I got to go mend a fence post on the property. Like you just moving on with the day. Like she repeated the thing we thought we was going to skip right over and move on to. You and my granddaddy should go hunting. That's what she said. Well, her granddaddy stands up, and he leaves the kitchen. So now here I am at the table. Cricket's granny's at the stove. Cricket's standing over there next to the stove with a coffee in her hand, and her granddaddy left, and I think maybe he got tired and he's going to go take a nap. I mean, that's the end of that. So, maybe I don't have to figure this out. He did it for us. He don't want to go hunting. So Cricket's smiling, looking at me, just waiting, though, like she's still waiting for me to say something, but she ain't asking a question neither. She ain't saying, hey, Tavin, do you think you and my granddaddy should go hunting? Or would it be a good idea? She just steady you and my granddad need to go hunting. You bank, bank. And all I can really think about is them fishing trips I had been on with this fella. I mean, we both been out in the water, and he had to use the bathroom, which I wasn't going to tell that story. You ever stood up in a 12-foot aluminum bass boat? Have you ever about tried to steady a granddaddy who's standing up in it with you? It ain't fun. Very little fishing happened. I'm going to leave it at that. And I couldn't see how this is going to be any different. You know, I know we own land, so I mean, that's probably a one-win as opposed to, you know, being in a boat in the middle of a lake with Cricket's granddaddy, but it didn't sound much better. So now all of a sudden, back in the kitchen comes Cricket's granddaddy, and he got on an orange hat, an orange vest, camouflage breeches, like he ready to go hunting now. Cricket look at me, and she's smiling. She claps. She claps. So I'm still sitting there. I had the strength to bring that bologna sandwich back to my mouth, and I'm telling you, it's the best fried bologna sandwich I ever had. And now Cricket's standing there, set her coffee cup down so she can clap for me, like applaud me, because she basically saying, you going hunting with my granddaddy. That's what she's saying. And I know by his outfits, you know, he got that orange hat on. He got that orange vest on. He got them camouflage breeches. I know what he's saying with that outfit. He's saying we going hunting. And I still ain't said nothing. Here I was eating a great fried bologna sandwich. Next thing I know, I'm about to get locked and loaded and go haul in some deer. That's about how it was. Cricket's granddaddy, you know, he just kind of looked around and he just nodded his head. I'm going to go fire up the side-by-side. That's what he says. I'm going to go fire up the side-by-side. Well, he leaves. What in a tornado just happened? I still ain't said nothing here other than, huh, to Cricket. And the next thing I know, my day just got planned for me. I figured I better say something pretty quick, though, because this is getting away from me, and maybe there's a way I can reel it back in, you know, like a big old bass, and get it back toward me and control the situation before it gets out of hand. So I just said to her, today? You know, like trying to put it on the calendar, like, are y'all thinking that today's the day? And of course today, right now, go catch up with Granddaddy Tabin. And that was it. So I get up and I leave, and I ain't got nothing. I ain't got no hunting gear, no gun, no crossbow. What am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to go out and headlock a deer? I mean, you want to talk about a wild day out there, if that's the plan. Get out there and headlock a deer. I got strength. I got strength in my haunches. I got strength in my biceps. I got strength in my triceps. I got strength in my interceps and my forceps. I had apple frittler this week, y'all guys. I had a pumpkin donut too. It's a big week for the donuts. So I ain't saying I don't have the strength to headlock a deer, but was it something I had written down in my day planner to do on this day? Not hardly. I'm so confused. Well, I figure I was headed outside to follow her granddaddy, but then I don't see him. So now I'm outside, and I'm kind of looking around, head on a swivel. I don't want him to drop out of a tree on me and be like, I got you. And then he get me in a headlock and say, that's how you do it. You know, I didn't know what was going on. But then he jumped out from behind a storage shed and he yelled. So then I yelled back at him. But the most I said in the last 5 minutes was yelling, other than huh inside the kitchen and today. And then he just said, gotcha. This camo really works. That's what he did. Like he's showing me, he's testing out his camo, showing me how come, you know, he could just hide from me and I wouldn't see him. And I didn't mention that he was behind a shed, but I didn't want to make, you know, the day much longer than it needed to be. So that's that. The shed was tan, by the way, but I mean, it don't matter if you're behind it, what color it is, I guess. So we get on that side-by-side and he driving, so I already knew this wasn't going to go great. He driving a side-by-side over their property, and it's an adventure. It's a little bumpy, like there's a gravel road that can take you into some of that hunting land, and he's like, I guess he thinks, no, this is an off-road little vehicle we in, so why ever be on the road? So he's telling me stories. He's pointing, you know, years ago over here in this meadow, you know, like pointing, and he always slow down when he talks. And then side-by-sides, you can go in at a pretty good clip. But if you take your foot off that accelerator or whatever, I mean, you're just starting to just park it basically. So we ain't making great time in this side-by-side. We ain't even got snacks. I mean, I wasn't prepared to do that. I was there to eat and hang out with Cricket's family, and then we was going to go into town, you know, because I got to get other stuff done today. But I just got out there, you know, she picked me up to visit with them, and I thought it was going to be like a little afternoon thing, and then we done. Well, all of a sudden, I'm sitting next to Cricket's granddaddy, who's partially dressed like a hunter, and I ain't at all, and I ain't got no gun, and I ain't got no snacks. So if you think this hunting trip's off to a good start, I don't think you ever been hunting. And so, you know, if I got to pick, like if somebody said, okay, but you got time, you got 20 minutes to go get your snacks, what you gonna get? Well, I would have taken that fried bologna sandwich with me. That's firstlies. I might have had peanut butter and jelly in another bag, just, you know, for safe keeps for laters. Bag of my bacon, Tavin's bacon bag. That's a great snack out there. Probably would have had some Funyuns and some hot fries. Might have had a standard glazed twist. To drink water, maybe a thermos full of sweet tea, but ain't none of that with me now. Ain't none of that with me now. You know what's with me now? A man in his late 80s, in an orange hat, an orange vest, camouflage pants, haul and tail in a side-by-side. And by haul and tail, I mean we hit maybe 2 miles an hour because he was in the middle of a story. So we couldn't go fast anyhow. He's talking about the first deer he ever took. And it's a great story. You know, I like a good story. Her granddaddy's deer story. He called it in. He said, I called that thing in. You know, my brother was 50 yards away, you know, behind me. And he got quiet. And that thing was close. But, you know, Cricket's granddaddy's telling the story because I didn't think it was close enough, though. I called it in, but it wasn't close enough. So I waited, that's the way he said. He goes, so I waited. He goes, and I was very quiet. He goes, I could be quiet for days if I needed to be. About that time, his little brother ran into the area 50 yards away yelling, and he scared the deer away. So his little brother's back behind him, and then all of a sudden, you know, he thought everything's clear, and he run in, boy, did you get that deer kind of thing? Well, he ain't got that deer. And he, you know, I asked my brother, you know, what he's telling me. He was, I asked my brother, did you hear me shoot anything? He goes, no, I don't reckon I did. I was running too fast to see if you shot anything. He goes, well, you scared him away. You scared that deer away. And he was sure it was a 12-point buck. According to Cricket's granddad, he goes, for sure it was. And he hollered at his brother. He said, while they're arguing, 2 more giant bucks come through. And he thinks they might have been deaf deer. He goes, they walked right through, right next to us. I could have reached out and almost pet them. He goes, they must have been deaf deer because they didn't hear us arguing. I'm like, well, that's one conclusion to come to. You know, I'm thinking in my head. Then he had to pause about shooting a deaf deer. He's like, well, I didn't know. You know, I don't know if it'd be a fair fight if I shot a deaf deer. So I told him it'd sound fair enough to me. But he apparently he had this situation where he's hand lamps from a couple of deaf, what he thinks are deaf bucks, and he didn't do it. And so that's his story, right? So I'm like, well, okay, let's go. So we got to find a place to hunt, and we finally get, you know, to a point where there's a deer stand. So I'm figuring, well, Cricket's granddaddy's been here before, and I don't know. I was wondering, though, like we got there, like how in the world he gonna get up in this deer stand? Like what's going to happen next? What's his plan? You know, I certainly, I mean, there ain't no way you look at this day and think, boy, Tavin had a plan. I did not have no plan. But I tell you, if I did have a plan, none of this would have been part of it. I wouldn't have been in the woods next to a deer stand, just in my regular clothes with no snacks next to Cricket's granddaddy, and he looking up at this deer stand. That's when he realized that he forgot his guns. Not one way to kill a deer. We didn't have a way to do it other than that headlock, you know, kind of thing. And now we basically on a nature tour, not a hunting trip. Then this giant buck walks into the opening while we standing there by that deer stand, and Granddaddy whispers, there it is. I'm thinking, what? And that's actually what I said to him. I was like, what? And I went ahead and whispered, y'all guys, because he's whispering. So you try to match what they giving you. You know, if he's yelling, I might yell back, but, you know, like maybe he can't hear, and he thinks I can't hear. But he said, you know, he said, there it is. I said, what? And I'm telling y'all guys, he said it as clear as day. He said, it's the deaf deer. There ain't no way it's still alive, firstly. I mean, this is when him and his little brother were little guys. And I don't know what he wants to do with it anyway. You gonna do sign language to this deaf deer? You ain't gonna shoot it. You ain't got a gun. If it can't hear you, I don't know what his plan is. Come on, Granddaddy. So he start to walk over to this buck, and I'm like a deer in headlights or a tavern in deer lights. I don't know, but I'm froze. And as Cricket's granddaddy, he kind of creeped closer to that thing. That buck snorts, it turns, and it hauls whitetail out of there. I mean, it go. Like it seen him or something spooked him. It had to be us. I'm thinking, this can't be a deaf deer, I'm thinking in my head, but, trying to be quiet at the same time. So here I am in some sort of opening in a thicket in basically my lawn mowing clothes next to Cricket's granddaddy in his orange hat, orange vest, camouflage breeches with no gun, no crossbow, no plan but to befriend what he thinks is a deaf deer, which I'm pretty sure it ain't. And then he takes a deep breath, pats his chest like that's just what he needed, and we backing that side by side, and we heading back to the property. I'm thinking, well, maybe this did turn out better than I thought. We could have been out here all day in a deer stand, but now that we ain't got no anything to take down a deer with, we might as well just head back. So I kind of just shook my head. Felt like I was just swept down the river and just crawled up on shore. Like what in the world just happened? I mean, I got carried away from a bologna sandwich for I don't know what. So we get back to the house, and Cricket, she was happy that her granddaddy was happy. He was smiling. Boy, he was talking like it just brought him back to be out there. And so I was happy about that. And Cricket was smiling at me, so I was smiling back at her. And I like to use a lot of words on many a day, but I did a bunch of smiling today. I look back on it, it's like, you know what? That's a pretty good nature tour. That's a pretty good nature tour in the side-by-side. Beautiful country they live on, too. And it seemed to work out better anyway. And sometimes you just got to do that. I mean, you out on a hunting trip, or you just out with folks, it ain't what you expected. You just smile along. And I ain't keeping score, but I think I got some points today. Spending time with Granddaddy, and I can't never leave us time hanging out with him where I ain't got a story to tell afterwards. So I never come away empty-handed like that away. So it was a good start to a hunting season, you might say. Me, Cricket's granddaddy, and that bologna sandwich, I don't know. It wasn't there when I got back to the house. So I'm wondering, her granddaddy and granny are the kind of folks that they'll swoop up behind you. You can't leave a tea out, or you at their house for some party or event, and you walk away from your tea. You ain't within arm's reach. It's gone. Get yourself another glass. That one's gone, kind of thing. So I don't know what happened to it, but man, I got my mindset on another fried bologna sandwich this week, and I'm gonna sit down and eat it in one sitting, because I wouldn't want to take half of it and leave it outside the trailer. That's for sure. Boy, them crows would have just a field day with that. And even if I left it inside the trailer, with they beaks they can smell. I don't know how it works. I didn't go to school for crows, but I mean. And they ain't got thumbs, but I wouldn't put it past them. Figure out a way to get my trailer, eat whatever I leave on that table. Especially if it's a fried bologna sandwich. It tastes as good as one Cricket's granny made. And Granddaddy ate. He had one before we left. But anyhow, I got enough to eat. And I got story now with me, a new story with Cricket's granddaddy hunting. So I guess that's all. When Cricket was smiling, her granddaddy was smiling. So I had to back up and say, you know what? That day did not turn out to what I would call a win, but looking back at it, I was like, yeah, we winning for sure. So I hope the falls times in your neck of the woods is going good wherever y'all hanging out today. I appreciate y'all joining me on the Tab and Dillard podcast. It's a big deal. We're hanging out like this away. You can leave me a comment on Apple iTunes or wherever you listen to Spotify or wherever, or you can just shoot me a text or email. Let me know what you think. Share this podcast with your friends and your enemies and your mild acquaintances. That may be good. I don't know. But I'd say give it a shot. And you can rate this thing. But please, whatever you do, have yourselves a great week. And hey, if you ain't had to leave half a fried bologna sandwich to go and try a pet a deaf deer that can hear this week, you having a pretty good week. Me, I'm Tab and Dillard. This is a Tab and Dillard podcast. We'll see you next time, y'all guys.